Agentic coding and voice-first apps are changing how teams ship software. This week's posts converge on one point. Autonomy needs new engineering patterns. Sandbox local agents. Run container-native multi-tenant platforms. Scope retrieval explicitly. Measure voice latency by stage. I'll explain the practical fixes. 12 short posts from engineers shared practical patterns this week. They cover sandboxing local agents and dry run diffs, a Docker plus Traefik multi-tenant platform, agent group chat orchestration to prevent mapper drift, a rethink of code review with reported velocity figures, optimistic update contracts for React, voice turn latency budgets, tools, deterministic JSON hashing, and sitemap checks. 5 concrete takeaways you can use now. First, sandbox local agents. Use RealPath and 2 allowed routes, project and scratch. Hide .files like .env and .git by default. Mount reference trees read-only and prefer dry run diffs for writes. Second, scale with Docker Compose and Traefik labels. Traefik auto-discovers containers and can provision TLS via Let's Encrypt. Third, use agent group chat orchestration. Split roles, analyzer, mather, generator, validator. Validator can end a run, cap iterations at 10. Fourth, code review overhead is rising with agentic coding. One author reports productivity gains over 50% with larger review costs. Fifth, optimistic React UIs. Use eTag, mutation ID, and idempotency keys. Server must echo mutation ID and return the canonical snapshot. How these patterns work under the hood. Sandboxing. Route file system tools through one wrapper. Canonicalize paths, check allow list, deny .files, and return a unified diff. Use read-only mounts for reference trees and consider containers for isolation. Agent group chat turns the flow into a state machine. Selection strategy picks the next speaker. Validator returns a binary verdict and can end the run. Rehydrate durable history before retries to prevent drift. Optimistic UI. Queue patches with mutation IDs and idempotency keys. Server uses if match and eTag and returns the canonical snapshot. On reject, rebase pending patches over the committed state. Who benefits and where more work is needed? Platform engineers. Container isolation with per-service volumes and resource limits. Traefik provides auto-routing and TLS for self-serve endpoints. Front-end engineers. Centralize optimistic logic near the data layer. Author recommends TanStack Query v5, React 18+, and TypeScript. Voice engineers. Instrument named boundaries. Pulse streaming lists about 64 milliseconds to first transcript. An illustrative latency budget sums to 800 milliseconds across stages. Tool builders. Cocoon is about 200 lines of TypeScript for deterministic JSON hashing. These posts reflect an industry shift. Agentic automation raises throughput but moves the bottleneck to verification and governance, called the productivity reliability paradox by one author. They report productivity gains over 50% and much larger rises in merged PRs and review time. Responses: design loops, add deterministic validators, and measure verification cost. Where to invest now? Add a file system choke point and default to dry run diffs. Keep scope-aware retrieval in a single RPC. Pass embedding, candidate count, and a JSON-B filter, so SQL enforces scope before HNSW ranking. Use deterministic hashing like Cocoon for idempotency keys. For voice, start with batch HTTP and move to streaming only when partial transcripts or live interruption are needed. Every pattern has trade-offs. Sandboxing bounds blast radius, but is not absolute protection. Bind mounts rely on kernel rules. Containers add ops complexity. The Spendly SMS example shows platform limits. Read SMS and receive SMS, trigger play protect, and iOS prevents third-party SMS reading. Free tiers may force polling instead of WebSockets. Vector search can return plausible but wrong neighbors if scope isn't enforced inside the database. Operational guidance. Use kernel-level read-only mounts and user namespace remapping. Sign images with Docker Content Trust. Collect per-tenant logs and metrics. Instrument voice systems by stage. Turn decision, STT finalization, LLM first token, first speakable chunk, TTS first audio, and end-to-end playback. Enforce boundaries and make verification cheap. First steps: add a file system wrapper with canonical real path checks and dry run diffs. Keep retrieval scope in one RPC with a JSON-B filter. Centralize optimistic patch handling with mutation IDs and e-tags. Measure voice interactions by name stages before optimizing model latency. All source links are in the description. Read the post for code examples and configs. Included: Sandboxing, Traefik multi-tenant, agent group chat, optimistic React, voice latency, Cocoin, Supabase RPC, and more.